What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. As you can see on the screen right now, we have the official Union Arena English announcement. It is coming to English. We are getting an English release. We've got a release date of October 2024, and that's all we know at the moment as far as I'm aware. We don't know what set it's starting with. Some of the recent sets, they've had some signatures on them. We don't know, are we going to get signatures? Are they going to license that? As we know in Weiss Schwarz, that's a very common issue that they have been having, trying to license the signatures when they come out in English and they have to be dropped. So we've got no idea on that. We just know that this TCG is getting an English release, which I'm actually excited about. I think an English release for Union Arena will do better than potentially the Japanese release, and we're going to that in a bit in this video. But what I want to talk about is the fact that this TCG coming to English is pretty much the first TCG that's going to be almost a direct competitor to Weiss Schwarz. I mean, I'm only going to talk about the collectability side of things. I don't play Weiss Schwarz. I don't play Union Arena, and maybe I will. I don't know. It really depends on what it's like when it comes out, but I can't comment on those kind of things. I can speak about what I've heard and what happened with the Japanese release of Union Arena. And as far as I'm aware, what seems to have gone around online was it didn't sell too well when it first came out with sort of Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen. You could pick up cases of them for sort of 70% under distro. I saw lots of sales on Japanese sites trying to get rid of them, almost sort of 6 to 12 months after they had come out. Now, I heard a lot of that was to do with the fact that people weren't really playing this game. Apparently it wasn't very playable, it wasn't fun to play. That's what I heard. Now, I didn't play it myself. It's in Japanese at the moment. So yeah, anyone watching who can comment on that, drop it below. Let us know what that playability issue was. And why people didn't enjoy it, if that is correct. But as far as I'm aware, that's why they struggled with sales, is that people just weren't really playing this game as much as perhaps they expected. Now, obviously, coming to a collector perspective, there are huge IPs here. We're talking Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, we've got Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, we've got Blue Lock. I mean, I could go on for a long time. I think even Tekken recently came out, which obviously is based on a video game. So in terms of what they're doing, extremely similar to Weiss Schwarz. However, the IPs they're getting hold of are those mammoth shonen style IPs that, in my opinion, suit a much more casual anime audience. And I think that casual anime audience is much bigger than perhaps those more niche animes that Weiss Schwarz might have a release for. You know, they might get signatures for, and they are very popular shows, but they're not as casual. They're not necessarily as mainstream in the West. So I've always said this. I thought if Union Arena came out in the West, I think it will do extremely well because of those very mainstream, popular, casual anime fan base that it's going to attract. So I think that will go a long way from collectability. Now, obviously, if the game's not playable and people just don't enjoy playing it, that's seriously going to affect it. And potentially that is what happened in Japan when it came out. Time will tell, and you know, hopefully if someone's dropped something in the comments below, I can pin that and see that information. Please hit subscribe. 90% of people aren't subscribed, so really appreciate it if you hit subscribe. Now, I've actually opened some Demon Slayer and Jujutsu Kaisen Union Arena cards, and I actually like them. I know some people out there aren't a big fan of them, but personally, as a collector, I liked the cards, I liked the art. The Demon Slayer ones had these really nice stained glass effect on the SRs, and I just thought they looked really nice. Now, you only get about 1 or 2 textured hits, mostly 1 textured hit per box, and obviously that's the Japanese version of the set. It might be completely different when it comes out in English. I'm sure the rates will be different, they normally are, but personally I like them. They were the earlier set, so they didn't have signatures or anything like that, and I actually pulled someone the 3-star Tanjiro, which is the chase card from the Demon Slayer set, and it did look amazing, and I did really want it after I pulled that and sent it some of the newer sets are getting signatures, and in terms of what they're doing with the card art and just the way they look, it seems to just be getting better, in my opinion, for a lot of the sets that are coming out in the future and have come out since. So I am personally excited for this. Now, what does it mean? What's going to happen to Weiss Schwarz? Are people going to leave Weiss Schwarz in terms of collecting to go to Union Arena? Now, I think there's a lot going on at the moment anyway, regardless of something like this happening. So a lot of TCGs are sort of struggling. It's just generally the market is like in a bit of a downtrend. I'm even trying to sell, for example, the chase card from Azure Lane, Prince Eugen. So the Troll Deck SP, I listed that sort of below last sold, and literally no one wants it. No one's buying it. And that's a popular set, and it's a chase card from a popular set. Now, it feels like, given the economy right now and just everything in general, that mixed with the fact that TCGs just aren't, they aren't in the boom. Like they are just sort of slowly getting a bit quiet at the moment. A lot of things are cheap. I mean, especially Pokemon right now, and a lot of graded cards. The graded card market seems very saturated, not just Weiss Schwarz, but just as a whole in general right now. Things just aren't moving much. Like, you can list things for below last sold, and you won't really hear much unless it's a particular card that's being sort of like hype or was in a bit of a trend. I feel like that's the only time you'll actually make the sell, or unless you let it go really cheap. So just TCGs as a whole are struggling a little bit right now, and I feel like with Weiss Schwarz, some collectors potentially have already dropped off, and I think we need to talk about it. One Piece is huge right now. It is the hot TCG, it is the trending TCG, while all others are pretty much struggling. So I feel like a lot, well, not a lot, but I know for a fact that a fair amount of people have gone into One Piece, right? And whether they've come from Pokemon, whether they've dropped off Pokemon a bit, whether they've dropped off Weiss Schwarz, probably a mixture of both. From what I can see online, on Instagram, and in these different communities, there's a lot of people getting involved in One Piece, and that is actually a Bandai TCG. It's been out for over a year now and just seems to be growing in playability and collectors. And here we are with another Bandai release coming towards the end of next year. Now, we probably do need to speak about it actually, is that Bandai don't really have a great track record recently in terms of trading card games. We've got Dragon Ball Super and Digimon, which both came out and were very popular up until fairly recently, and they've had a really big decline. I think a lot of that comes down to the playability side of things. Things just started to not go too well, and there's been a huge drop off on both of them. So with One Piece growing, there is the concern that they mess this up. And then obviously Union Arena, the rumors being that it didn't do well in Japan because it wasn't a good game to play. Now, I've played One Piece, it is really fun. I do really enjoy it. But yeah, it's just something to be very mindful of, that this could come out in English, and although it sounds and like on paper would look like it should be fantastic and would be a huge competitor to Weiss Schwarz in terms of the IPs they're collaborating with, the wider casual audience that would potentially be interested in these IPs regardless of signatures, even though they are obtaining signatures for some of the recent sets that are coming out. I think for the average person, whether they're coming from Pokemon or One Piece, I think this is going to attract a lot of people. I know a lot of people online, a lot of collectors who would definitely be picking some of this up to open, regardless of how well it plays. And yeah, I think it's going to do well, but a lot of that does depend on playability. Now, if it's not playable and people just don't want to play the game, I think it will have a very positive initial release when it first comes out, and there's a lot of hype and a lot of people are interested and want to pick some of this up and open it. And I think they really need to sort out the playability. If it's an issue, they need to sort that out, and then it will have potentially like a similar growth to One Piece. Perhaps not as much, because there's a lot of things going on with One Piece at the moment. This is somehow turned into a One Piece video, but obviously it's a Bandai TCG, so I think we need to make that comparison a bit. But I'm actually very excited for this. I'm very excited for this to come to English. I think it will do well, as I've said, but I mean, I'm purely talking from a collector's perspective here. I know I mentioned playability, but I can't really go into that enough without the knowledge of why this didn't necessarily do so well in its Japanese release. I mean, time will tell though. You know, once this comes out, people start playing the game, we will understand and see where that potentially might go. You know, if the first week and people just saying how awful it is to play, then yeah, I mean, that's going to be a good sign that maybe this won't sell that well, and maybe they need to rethink some of that. But I'm definitely excited, I'm definitely interested. Let me know what you think in the comments though, especially if you're a player. Really interested to hear that side of things, and if you've had any experience or tried to play this in Japanese when it came out. Do you think this is going to impact the sales for Weiss Schwarz sets? Will collectors leave Weiss Schwarz and focus on Union Arena instead? Now, Weiss Schwarz has always been a very large player-based game anyway, so even if that happens, it's not necessarily like there's any danger involved in Weiss Schwarz. Like, the player base is there, people love playing Weiss Schwarz, it's not going anywhere. We'll have to see what happens with that one. I'm excited. Are you excited? Let me know in the comments. If you're watching at this point, please hit subscribe, hit like on the way out, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.